Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, it's a Friday, the 16th of December, 2022 here at Giga Texas, and a lot of activity today. Before I get into that, first off, I just want to say congratulations to Tesla, all of the employees here at Giga Texas, and all of the contractors and subcontractors that continue to build out this facility for hitting this milestone of 3,000 cars per week run rate, which is an amazing milestone, especially considering that just about 45 days ago, they hit the 2,000 per week range. So really incredible. You can see here some of the photos of people that make this happen, and they all are extremely excited, which is great. In case you're wondering where this photo was taken, as you can see by this image, this is in grid coordinate H39, which is in the center of the ground floor General Assembly, as you can see by the grid map. I also want to talk about a few things that you'll see in the video today of note. First off, as you can see here, we start off looking into the casting machine structure, trying to see if I can find any more parts or deliveries that go with that 9,000 ton Giga Press. There's a lot of activity in there. There are some of the platens that were brought in for that press.
And those are located right next to that left arrow, and underneath the right arrow is another interesting delivery, and this is a crate that has IDRA marked on it, and I think these may be the long poles that the two red devices on the left hand side with these two images are mounted on, and they make the actual machine work by sliding back and forth to make the actual castings. Pretty cool.
The next thing I want to talk about is here up at the battery cathode plant, that west side foundation. A lot of significant changes. As you can see by this image, that dense area of the piles has now been excavated around, and they've also moved some of the cranes away. Quite a bit of activity in this particular area. Very interesting to see. A lot more in the video. And of course, the last thing I want to talk about is this that you'll see across the highway on that southwest side, where the amount of earthwork to prepare that entire surface for that west support facility is really at a high gear this morning. But otherwise, a lot more to see. It's a Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. And as always, thank you very much for your support and for watching. And have a great day.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. As you can see, it's a beautiful morning here at Giga Texas when I started flying with a lot of activity, and I thought I would start on the north end today, and we'll take a look at these two loading platforms for the 4680 structure, and you can kind of see inside on this platform some of the activity and also some of the construction that is continuing to go on inside this portion of the factory. And as we mentioned about the steel parts being stored across the highway on the north end, I think some of that may be used inside here. But we'll continue to go towards the east. Right now we're going in front of the plastics manufacturing section, and then this is the paint shop, and then the two loading platforms to allow all these equipment to be moved inside. And here's a view a little bit inside here. You can kind of get an idea of some of the activity and some of the modular paint systems that have been installed here as well. And those modular paint systems are kind of like Lego blocks added together, and then the cars go through that. We can also see some, looks like maybe some air handling devices as well. As we continue further to the east, we'll prepare to go inside the casting machine structure, where we'll look to see if we can find any IDRA parts or anything else associated with the assembly of the new press. here you can see quite a bit of castings that have been completed and are being stored on the outside. And as we turn to look inside, all the equipment on the left-hand side, that red and white, those are the existing 4 6,000-ton gigapresses that are operational. And then you see that middle section with nothing really in it that kind of divides the left and the right-hand side of this section. In this section here with all of this equipment and near that far wall, this is where the work has been done to prepare for the larger 9,000-ton gigapress. And they've done a lot of work with the reinforcing of the columns on the top, as you can see, for the bridge cranes. You can see some of the equipment necessary to install the larger gigapress parts near that back wall as well. These are the DMG Mori milling machines, these black and white devices with the bridge cranes on top of them. And I'm going to have to pivot here a little bit and go around this worker on this man lift. I didn't want to get in their way. So we'll turn back in and look a little bit more inside here to see what we see. Starting off again on the east section of the structure, you can see those DMG Mori devices, the crates with the blue plastic lining on the top. These have been here for a little while. And then as we continue to move towards the West Bay, you can start seeing some very interesting developments. Now on the ground, you can see the outlines of where the foundations are for the larger gigapresses, and you can start seeing some of the components that the workers are unpacking on the left-hand side. And then here on the center section, you can see the wrapped red devices. Those are platens for the gigapress, and then that crate has got IDRA on it. And as we discussed in the intro, I think those may be those long poles, if you will, in the middle of the gigapress that those larger red parts slide on back and forth to make the actual gigapresses. But here we'll look back inside a little bit more just to get an idea of the activity that is going on in this section. Again, in the left-hand side is the foundation where the gigapresses will be installed. And then here, the bottom on the right-hand side are those large red parts wrapped in plastic, and then those crates with IDRA on it. So we'll pull away and we'll take a look at other parts around the site, but I hope you enjoyed seeing the parts for the IDRA press that have been delivered so far. Here's some really nice views of the east side, the parking lot, the new vehicle transportation lot, the warehouse on wheels, the battery cathode plant up in the left-hand side, and also this smaller parking lot that's being reconfigured to provide staging, new vehicle testing, and also the supercharger bank, in addition to a helicopter pad, as you can see. So I'm going to bring the drone down and we'll take a look back towards the west along this smaller parking lot, so you can see some of the activity that is going on. In the last, say, 48 hours, they've been using this more and more for these Model Ys as the production continues to ramp up. And as mentioned at the intro, they're now at about a 3,000 car per week run rate, which is really awesome to see. And here you can see the 32 superchargers that are being installed and still being connected. I'm taking advantage a little bit of the light so you can see inside the east main entrance, and you can see what they have stored on the ground floor, and also it looks like some stuff on the second floor that you might be able to make out as well. Again, with the power lines, it's really hard to see inside the windows on this part of the building. The work here in this earth section in front of these receiving doors continues. Looks like some excavation for some more plumbing ahead of reestablishing that concrete apron. Here you can see the continued work to reconfigure this particular intersection and then putting those angled corners on the parking lots. I'm not sure, again, what is the plan here. Some viewers have suggested it may be a traffic circle, but who knows? Hopefully we'll see what they're doing pretty soon. The new car staging and transportation lot is busy even this early morning. Quite a bit of Model Ys on both the left and the right hand side. Trucks are already busy picking up the Model Ys and transporting them off site. I'm going to give you a different angle view of the warehouse on wheels and the east material staging and trailer shot. And this will give you a good idea of how this looks with the sun just about to crest over the horizon, and also a good view of the amount of trailers that are on this side. And again, these are part of the production process. And we also will see later in the video quite a bit more of these trucks are now being positioned across the highway on the southwest side. But you can also see where the north part of this has been turned into a parking lot for vehicles. And then overall just how this portion of the site appears today. So let's get ready to start looking at some significant changes here on the west foundation at the battery cathode plant. One of the first things I noted was the movement of the cranes over to this southwest corner away from the main construction site. I think this is a great sign. This may indicate that the pier construction is completed, although they are doing some massive changes here, especially with some of the excavation work around this very dense concrete and rebar reinforced set of piers. And with the workers around, this gives you a good idea of the scale. And it looks like they're continuing to do some trenching right around, and you can even see some of the actual piers right at the edge of the excavation. Also, you can see some mud bases being put in, those large square sections. They put that in first, and then they can install the rebar and the concrete on top to help protect it from moisture and other issues that are with the contact with the dirt. But here is a good close-in view of this section. Now, closest to the drone on the bottom, those looks like they may be geopiers sticking out, and then the top part is those reinforced concrete dense set of piers as well. Also, a very good view of some of the footing construction that is going on. And as we reposition the drone to take a look at some of the work on the south end, I would just recommend you take a look at all of the people next to all of the footings, the piers, and some of the other work that's going on, just to get a good sense of scale of this construction site. Now, as I pull back a little bit, we'll see that there's an excavation going on here on the south end. I think this is defining the south edge of the actual building. So the overall shape is really starting to emerge right now. And again, this is going to be a 107,000 square foot facility. And this is a good close-up view of the trench work going on here on the south side. More of the footings have been completed here in the middle section. Others have the concrete forms and rebar being installed as well. And this is another angle of the close-up view of these really densely packed in piers and the work with the footings. Again, take a look at the size of the people to get a good idea of the scale of each of these footings. Another area of some significant progress is over here today with the iron pipes, the manifold systems. Some of them have been either painted in white or they came in white, but in addition to assembling all the manifolds here, we will also be able to see that they are starting to install them, hanging them underneath this steel structure as we've been talking about for some time. And this is good confirmation of what we've been expecting to see. And as you can see here, there's a really good section of this white pipe and manifold being installed underneath this structure at the moment. I'll give you a good view of some of these temporary loading platforms up here to the north. and also a peek inside some of this portion of the building so you can see how this appears today with some of the equipment, some of the HVAC ducting, some of the other around pipes on the top floor all installed, and a lot of progress inside. Here you can see this temporary storage with that white top and all the equipment underneath it. Also, I found this interesting. You can see not only the blue pipe installation, but quite a bit of water. Now, we haven't had that much rain recently, so I suspect that this may be either part of a test that went wrong, or for some reason a lot of water got introduced here, and they are actively pumping it out at the moment. Also, this is a good view from the north looking back to the south of how the west side appears today with the foundation, the construction, the pipe installation, some of the material staging, storage, and then that covered equipment section as well. So let's prepare to pull back a little bit, and I'll show you just a brief look at some of the clearing just up to the north of this side of the cathode building. What you'll see is quite a bit of the steel materials being staged here and some other materials. This will be part of the construction of that west building. And also on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see where they've done some more excavation work, some piles of dirt, and just some general reconfiguring of this portion of that clearing. Also, we can see continued work to reclaim this northern portion of the water detention pond with active dirt being installed and compacted. This steel structure that is maybe a control room or some other purpose, still waiting to finish the top of the roof, but most of the rest of the wall panels are installed as well. This is a good view of the materials, equipment, and workshops on the east side of the building. Now, in our previous video, I said that they were moving this tent. They moved it up to here, and they just finished reinstalling it. So that tent continues to move around. And then I'll give you some views inside this section of the building. This is the part that is open all the way up to the roof. And so it's a very tall segment of the building with some very interesting air handling tubes coming down from the roof. So overall, this is a good view of the east side and the entire section of the cathode building as it appears today. So now let's reposition over towards the electrical switch yard and see what kind of activity and progress is being made over here today. Now, this in the middle is the temporary switch yard, which is currently providing the power to Giga Texas, and then you can compare that size to the new permanent one to see just how much larger this one is, and the capacity for electricity is significantly enhanced based on the comparison of the temporary electrical switch yard. Now, here's a good view of how this looks today with the factory in the background with some really gorgeous clouds. And I'll bring the drone down a little bit to show you not only the drain pipe that you can see at the bottom of the screen into the water detention pond, but the cable tray installation in these trenches is really coming along. Quite a bit of it has the concrete already poured. You can see that projection into the actual switch yard itself over near those V-top circuit breakers is underway. And you can see a couple of more segments of that cable tray that'll be extended over towards the rest of the switch yard as well. We can also see just how the installation of the steel and the insulators is going along. And then on my previous video, I showed workers at the top of this A-frame, and we were speculating what they were doing. You can see those small poles at the top. Those are lightning arresters that were installed, and you can see them, similar ones here on the temporary switch yard. That's just to help protect the entire system from lightning strikes. So as we approach back towards the main building, we're going to continue around the northwest side and pick up the video on the west side of the building. One of the new developments on this side of the building that I want to show you is the continued expansion of the number of receiving doors. And here we've seen them removing the temporary concrete panels that were originally installed. And also we can see these green load levelers. These used to be stored on the west side material staging for a while, and now they're being installed along with the doors. And this actually adds about 10 more receiving doors to what they already had. And it's part of the future expansion plan that has been in works for quite some time. This is the lift station and some of the continued modifications and repair work that is going on here. What exactly is the problem, I don't know, but it's had quite a bit of work and rework over the last, say, 8 months. Here we can see the new and renovated main entrance and what is going on. What is very interesting, on the left hand side of the screen you can see that interesting cutout section has been removed completely, and it looks like it's either a change of plan or just it was temporarily cut, like you see here with this sort of serrated edge. But it looks to me like they are actually removing all that, and it's just going to be put into a complete rectangle now. So again, it makes me wonder, what is the plan? What is this going to be, and how is it going to look when they're finished? You can also see some excavation work here near the perimeter grade beam, along with some of these underground pipe systems. And I'll give you an interesting top-down view to give you an overall image of how this appears today, and how it's transforming into just basically now one large rectangular section, which is yet another change. So let me know what you think they're doing here in the comments. I don't know. It would be really interesting to find out what your thoughts are. So let's prepare to go across the highway and take a look at the work on the West Support Facility. This large west side material staging location continues to change, and more of the equipment is being removed, and what's remaining is on the north end. On the south end, we can see the trailers, some fencing that's now been installed, some of the markers for the trailers to be parked, and also it looks like they're getting ready to remove these bridge crane rails, and those are from the casting machine structure, and they were moved over here as part of the work that they're doing to prepare for the larger giga presses. But anyway, a lot of changes on this side of the entire construction site here. And as we approach over to where the earthwork is going on, we can see a lot of activity here this morning. Now what they're doing is they are essentially trying to level out this particular grade. It used to be some very tall hills and deep ponds and valleys as part of the old sand and gravel mine. Some of the remnants of that are on the right hand side of the screen, and you can see one of the ponds here, and you can also get an idea of the height of that berm based on the trucks that are nearby. But I will bring the drone around and give you a good view of the excavation work here, all of the trucks that are being used, and what it appears is that they are taking the dirt from this particular section, which is higher in altitude, and then they're repositioning it back over towards the end of this truck trail, and you can see them actually dumping the dirt in what used to be a small valley to help continue to level out the overall grade. But as you can see, a lot of trucks, a lot of activity over in this part of the construction site today. Now, as we've talked in the past, this is permitted for the West Support Facility, which is a large logistics yard. It'll also be where the new vehicle staging and transportation lot will eventually be. And it also looks like it's going to be the west expansion of the warehouse on wheels, as you can see, really taking shape right in front of the drone. So let's get ready to head back over to the main site and get a look at what activity is going on over there today. Back at the main factory site, we see a lot of activity on the south end, everything from water pipe to corrugated water management pipes, concrete pipes, and quite a bit of concrete removal of the last sections of what used to be the concrete lot down here. Now what I'm going to show you is next to that yellow and black device, you can see the corner of the splitter box, and then you can also see part of the steel corrugated pipe coming out of it. The splitter box is part of the large water management system, and then with this corrugated steel pipe that's being added at this sort of angle, and you can also see where it's going to take a 45-degree bend. It looks like they may be expanding that water management system, and that's what all the rest of these steel corrugated pipes are for that are stored here. There's just a little bit of concrete left to be removed, and you can also see just some of the work that's going on south of this trench. Now the interesting thing here is we saw that the platform on the left-hand side of the screen was removed, and what it looks like is because of this work to sort of put a 90-degree elbow in where the concrete pipes meet up with the steel corrugated pipe in that center trench, it is extending towards the building, and you can see where they're excavating as well. So for some reason, they've elected to modify this water management system pretty significantly on the south end of the building. I'm going to bring you up to the roof briefly to show you the crane that's been lifting a bunch of components up here, including some of the solar panels, some of the mounts, and actually some other equipment that I'm not exactly sure what it is. They're kind of these flat silver. And as I bring down the drone, you can see a couple of them on this truck being removed. If you know what they are, I would appreciate you letting me know in the comments section. But here's about as close of a view as I can get, and you can see that they're being stored over here until the crane can move them up to the top of the roof. So very interesting. I'm going to bring us back to the south end, and we'll do a quick flyover of the construction site here and get over towards where the stamping machine structure is and take a look at what activity is going on over here today. You can also just see how the section that used to have concrete appears now, since most of it's been removed. You can see stamping machine parts on the left-hand side by the wall. Those are parts of the IDRA stamping press. And in these blue wrapped packages are some of the very large parts of that press, and also the green and white wrapped items as well, plus all the crates nearby. So anyway, this was a quick view of Giga Texas on this nice morning with a very beautiful sunrise, some views inside the casting machine structure where we see IDRA parts, quite a bit of activity up at the battery cathode plant, and everything in between. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you very much for watching and for all of your support. I really appreciate it. Take care.